you know, at this day and age, it's like I have to learn to ride whatever, you know, surface I have to. So I have been known to do demonstrations in the dust because, you know, why not?
Because why not?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, you're good. So yeah, there you have it.
Yep, and here's mine. My Reclamation Dave Nourie DNE frame arrived a few days ago, and I'm beyond stoked to share it. Like a lot of us, riding BMX bikes around the neighborhood was the center of my childhood. Around 12, I got really into freestyle, but before I learned serious tricks, skateboarding took over and the bike mostly became transportation to skate spots. I've always had nostalgia for freestyle, but I never considered learning tricks again until a couple of years ago when I saw Flatland return to the X Games. I built up an S&M dagger and then had a reality check. Learning Flatland at 50 is exponentially harder than at 15, especially on a bike that's not really designed for it. Last year I met the STL 4130 Flatland crew. They've been super supportive and got me riding more, even if not as often as I'd like with everything else I've got going on. And while I know practice counts more than parts, at 50 I'll take every edge I can get. Today's video is part 1 of a 3-part series, why I chose the Reclamation DNE, what makes it special, and the parts I picked. Part 2 is hand building my first wheel set. Not a tutorial, but why you might want to try it and to point you in the right direction. And then part 3 is the full build, the first rides, and then a classic bike check. Last fall, I decided to get a new Flatland frame. I considered a few options, but it had to have 80s vibes, modern geometry with a shorter top tube, and then come from a brand that I could stand behind. I narrowed it down to the Tech Bike Co. Trident, and then this one, but the twin top tube nostalgia and supporting Dave Nourie tipped it. So Reklamation Bikes is a rider-run brand out of Colorado focused on simplicity and function. A small brand with a big team. I love that they've got modern killers like Jean-William Prévost holding it down on the pro flat circuit, and icons like Dave Nourie still pushing and inspiring. I could yap on and on about the frame, but I had the chance to visit with Dave at Dirty Fest, and he shared some cool stories about the frame project with Reklamation. Check this out. You rode for Haro in the 80s,
Basically rode the Haros, you know, that was like my prime, you know, from 85 through 89, and rode Masters the whole time.
Right.
Basically each year. And then I rode a Big Daddy till 2012, and then we did a reunion show in Germany, and I got on a Master because we wanted to wear the uniforms, and I got an 85 Haro Master, and then I did a show. I got the bike like 3 weeks ahead just to get it all dialed in. And then I got back on the Lineage Haro when John Bolgens and Haro came out with Lineage. So that was a 2017, and I love that bike. I mean, everything about it reminded me of the 80s, and that's what I think it did so well. Because a lot of riders either got back into it or just bought the bike that they didn't.
They wanted, but they didn't. They didn't. Now I've got adult money. Let's go.
Now I have a little disposable income, so I was able to, you know, buy the bike that I was always hoping to have. So that was awesome to ride that bike and get back, and that's when I started competing again and doing shows a bit more. And then last November, Reklamation, so a little backstory, Reklamation was starting to sponsor me by helping me to get to events. And it was amazing because both Fred and Robert were just supportive and said, you just go do you, and we don't care that you're on a Haro, you're a Haro guy. And one guy, Ephraim from UK, said at some contest, he was like, so Nourie, like, where's your Reklamation parts? I had not a single Reklamation part on it. And he kind of like called me out on it, so I mentioned it to Fred and Robert. I'm like, hey, you know, maybe I could find some bar, you know, maybe I should write something. Some bars or something. Well, meanwhile, they had this frame already designed, like the geometry and the basic design, and they launched it in 2012, and it just, the timing wasn't right, and they just didn't really sell a lot. And they presented with, in November of last year, they presented a prototype to me at the Battle of the Rockies, AFA. And I was thrilled. I mean, the green, obviously.
Was it a surprise, or did you know?
I did not know. Yeah,
That's
I did not. I mean, I knew that there was a possibility because there was a little bit of like mentioning of like, hey, we might have a frame. And I knew there was a double top tube that was to my specs for the most part. But they did a few things, so let's just get into it so that people know. Yeah, so 19-inch top tube, and for those that are, you know, that are in the know as far as Flatland riders, generally run a much shorter top tube. I mean, I run, the old Masters was like 18.5. They were really tiny. So it's just easier to get over the head too. I'm not that tall, I'm 5'7", so, you know, I ride, you know, 19 is an ideal length. It's a 75 head tube, a little steeper than the Haro Master. And then what they did specific, because all of the geometry was already set in this frame, but I asked them to put the brakes down at the bottom so then I could put my foot in there so I could still actually do cherry pickers, you know?
Yeah, amazing.
Which is a trick that I wanted to bring back. And then they also put, and I was like, question on this, like, I don't know how many people ride coaster brake. So they did a coaster brake mount.
So you got a tab for the,
But if you see a Reklamation bike with a double top tube, and it has the brakes on the bottom and the coaster brake.
You know it's a DNE.
You know it's a DNE, exactly. So that's basically what what it's all about. It's a good all-around Flatland bike for a beginner. We're selling just a frame either at Flatland Fuel or Flat Society, and we did the first batch. We made 15. And those sold out, and now we're on our second batch.
And that's what I've got one on pre-order.
And now we're due to have them delivered end of the month, so end of June is what we're hoping to fill the orders.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Man, Dave is such a rad guy. If you're not following him, you should. He's got such a creative, positive, and encouraging personality. He definitely inspires you to want to get out there and try harder. And maybe it's a small thing, but I'm stoked to support him through this purchase. But like he said, it's got a 19-inch top tube, 75-degree head tube angle, and then here on the rear end, it's 13.5 inches slammed. And I tossed it on a scale, and it came in at 5 pounds, 10 ounces, maybe a little bit heavier than the Dagger that I've got, but a fair trade for the twin top tubes. These aren't catalog frames coming in giant shipping containers. Reklamation partners with John Quartz to hand build these in small batches here in the USA. John graciously sent over this clip of him bending some of the tubes into shape, and he posted a couple of photos on his Instagram account. Seeing that and then holding number 41 here in Gumby Green is just too cool. All right, parts table time and why I chose each piece. If you're here mainly for the build details, this is your section. And I originally planned just to swap out the Dagger frame with this one and then reuse everything, but chasing that old school chrome, blue, green look, and then a few pre-order delays turned it into a nearly full build. Short of going full titanium, this is about as good as it gets for me. I'm in for about $2,500. I've got no regrets, and seriously, thanks for watching and grabbing shirts. That support makes projects like this possible. Okay, let's start with the forks, and since Reklamation doesn't make a matching fork for this frame, I decided that I wanted to go with chrome, and then I wanted a front brake, so I needed 990 mounts. So chrome with front brakes kind of narrows the field down, and then most of the offset here, most freestyle forks are around 25 millimeter offset, and most Flatland, they go with a 0 to 15 millimeter offset, so that really narrows it down fast. But I found these Lineage Haro Groundmaster forks. They have a 15 millimeter offset, and they were on sale for 120 bucks. So this was one of the easiest decisions of the whole build here. Okay, next up are the bars, and obviously if I was doing chrome forks and I couldn't get the same green on everything else, I was going to do chrome bars, and I really wanted to get the Haro Lineage knee saver bars, but they've been out of production for a couple of years and I couldn't find any chrome ones, but I did come across these Bob bars from Liberty, and they're nearly identical to the knee savers. They've got a 9-inch rise here, a 6-degree back sweep, 3 degrees up sweep, and they're just under 27 inches wide, so they'll be perfect. And then going with the classic green and blue vibe, starting up front with the stem here, I've got a profile push stem. This one is 48 millimeter reach, so it's slightly on the longer side, but still considered normal for Flatland. So it was just a good color match, so I went with that. Some of the other blue stuff, I've got Odyssey Evo 2.5, so I had Odyssey Springfields on my Dagger, and they were fine, but the levers were terrible. One of them broke. So I'm going with the tried and true Odyssey, so the blue there. And then some of this blue, they're not making it, and it was really hard. Like to get a matching blue gyro was really hard to find. But yeah, I've got a matching blue gyro. I've got the Odyssey, a blue bottom bracket down here that matches, so that's cool. Some blue Odyssey pedals. We'll see if I like those or not. We've got blue Diacomp seat post clamp, so that's cool. And then I think, blue Odyssey headset. So we've got all those parts there, so that's cool. So yeah, a lot of this is going to be matched with the blue Odyssey. Some of the Attnized blue, they're never really a perfect match. Like these Amy's are definitely different than the others, but they're all in the ballpark. I think it'll look fine. The sprocket here, I've got a Haro baseline. This is a blue, but this is a 25 tooth sprocket here. I've got a white one of these on the dagger, and it's fine. It'll be cool. No problems there. And I think that's it for all the blue parts. Next up, I guess let's chat about the drivetrain. And I've always loved Profile, but never was willing to spit out the money for them. So I've got some chrome Profile cranks here, and guess I probably should have unwrapped one first so you could see it, but these are absolutely beautiful. These are 165 millimeters. And so in Flatland, people think 165 is kind of the longest that you would really want. Most guys like 160 or even down to like 140 or whatever. But anyway, Profile is not making chrome cranks these days, and these are really hard to find, and the only ones I could find were 165s with a titanium spindle, and that added an extra $100. So these cranks were $300, which to me is crazy. A few years ago I would have just never even considered doing that, but since they're so rare, I had one shot to get what I wanted, so I just went for it. So yeah, some cool Profile cranks. What else down there? I think that's it. I've got an Odyssey Bluebird chain. Moving over to, let's see what else. GT seat post. This is just a plain old pivotal seat post. I got this from the GT clearance last winter, so no big deal there. I'm kind of waiting to move to the wheels because I got to grab them. Up front, I've got some Amy lock-on grips. I love the green here. Now these are really designed for racing and not freestyle because the ends, they just don't hold up to your bike dropping well, but they'll last for a couple of months and then I'll figure out what I want to do after that. But I love Amy grips, and these grips are beautiful, so I've got them, so I'm going to go ahead and use them. And then similarly, I've got some Tech 77 levers. I love these. These are relatively new. I got them last fall and they're in good shape, so I figured I'd just carry them over. So this is pretty much the only parts that's not brand new on this bike. Let's see. Let's move on to the wheels. So I'm going to step out and grab real quick. I've got, I don't know, so when I started acquiring all these parts, like I said, originally I was just going to swap out the frame and use all the old dagger parts. And every delay I just saved a little bit more money and I just started buying things. And at some point I was like, man, I really don't want the black wheels and rims anymore. I want some chrome ones just for that old school look. And I started doing a lot of research on free coaster hubs and trying to pick which one I wanted and just hubs in general. And anyway, the more I researched, the more I was like, I'm going to just need some custom wheels because I can't find ones pre-made that I like. And it's like if I'm going to have to order custom, I might as well try and put them together myself. So that's the plan here. So I've got some Sun Envy rims. These are fairly popular with a lot of the pros and advanced riders, and they're not expensive. So I went with those. I've got some Heresy Zephyr tires here. These are 1.75, so thinner than what I ran on the Dagger. Those were 2.1 inch speedballs from S&M. And so yeah, people have great things to say about these, so that's that. And then spokes, I've got USA spokes, and these are double butted, which means they're a little bit thicker on the ends and a little bit thinner on the inside, and that allows you to save a little bit of weight. These are so much cheaper than titanium spokes and a little bit stronger, and they're not that much heavier. So I went with that for an economical perspective. Then I've got... let's see, I didn't pull them all out. So we'll save this for the wheel build video because that's the next video. But I've got the spoke nipples here, also from USA spokes, but I've got a pack of blue ones and then 2 packs of different green ones. And I'm gonna alternate the colors, so I think that'll look pretty cool. And then for the hubs, I've got Far East Cycles. And this one is their free coaster here, and it's absolutely beautiful. I've read a lot of great things about these and seen some video reviews on YouTube. And then similarly, this is the front hub matches is also Far East Cycles, and it's actually got some carbon fiber on it. And this is a super light hub here. It was really expensive. I think it was like 140 bucks or something like that. But it was expensive for being a hub. But I wanted it to match. I wanted them to look good. So I just went ahead and did it. So that's the hubs. And so, yeah, I haven't built wheels before. I did take one of my daughter's old wheels off of her old bike, and I completely disassembled it, and then I reassembled it, and I got a cheap spoke tension gauge off of like AliExpress, and I checked that against all the wheels that we have out in the garage just to kind of get a baseline, and I was able to get the tension right. It's perfectly true. It's perfectly round. It's perfectly dished, so I know I'll be fine doing these. It will take a little bit of time. I think the last thing I've got here are the pegs, and these are Iggy drill sergeants, and my friends, a couple of guys that I ride with the STL 4130 crew swear by these, and I know a lot of guys like Dave Nourie love these as well, so they're a little bit pricey, but I didn't care. I just, like I said, this is, wouldn't call this like a midlife crisis build, but it was just kind of like at some point, I just started buying parts, and it was like, I just want really good stuff. I know I'm not that good. I don't need good stuff. I would be fine on a cheaper bike, but I'm 50. My kids are out of high school. I've got a little bit more disposable income. And then, like I said, you guys watching these videos brings in a little bit of income on ad revenue. And then I've sold quite a few shirts lately. And so all of that helps support this. So I figured, why not pour it back into what we're doing here on the channel? So that's that. But I think that's all of the parts. So yeah, that's the kit. I'm super stoked on all of it. I'm starting with the wheels, so stay tuned for part 2, where I build my first set by hand and talk about why you might want to try it too. And then in part 3, we'll get all this built up and start riding. I'm stoked. Big thanks to Reklamation, Dave Nourie, and John Quartz for making bikes like this possible, and to the STL 4130 crew for the push to keep learning. If you're getting into Flatland at 40 or 50, whatever, come ride with us in person or in spirit. It can feel intimidating to roll up to riders who are miles ahead, but here's the secret. Most of them are stoked just to see you out there, and they'll cheer for your first makes like they were their own. Show up, try again, and let the stoke do the rest. If you've got questions about the DNE or my parts list, drop them below. And if you've got colorway ideas for future frame runs, Dave's listening.
Likely that we'll come out with some new colors. So if you want to throw out some suggestions, just hit me up on any social media platforms. It's my name, Dave Nourie, and let me know what you're thinking as far as colors. I'm thinking pink. I never rode a pink bike. That was always, GT's colors. But,
or Hutch, Hollywood.
Or Hutch. Yeah, exactly. But like a bright pink would be pretty cool.
That would be cool, yeah.
But we'll see. So that's kind of
I'm stoked on green, so I'm glad that I got in on this batch.
Yeah, they're doing either green or black. Okay, so they do either green with black stickers or black with green stickers.
I'm excited to have green.
Yeah.
So. Well, thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to share with us. And
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get this bike. I'll tag you once I get it built.
Yeah, no, and do some edits. I want to see some fun edits with it, all right, once you get it.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Yeah, peace.